Hey everybody, this is George K from Lead Like a Boss, and wow, we got another great guest for you today. Sudha Halder from Halder Group is a real estate, we'll just call it a real estate enterprise. He's not a real estate broker. He's a lot of different things. And I think if you really want to understand how to grow your business, whether it's real estate or anything else, this is the episode for you. So stay tuned. Sudha, thank you for being a guest on the podcast. It's been a while that we've known each other, a while that we're trying to get something going, and I'm really pumped that we're going to finally do it today.
Thank you, George. Really appreciate this invitation, and I'm glad I'm going to share some great tips with the listeners.
Great. Excellent. So Sudha, we've known each other through BNI for quite a while now. I know quite a bit about you, but for the sake of the audience, can you tell us a little bit about what your business is, introduce the business, and maybe speak on very quickly what made you get into real estate?
My business is, I'm a commercial real estate broker. I specialize on commercial real estate and investment properties. And what made me get into this is I saw how people make their decision when they purchase their first home. Often they take emotion into consideration, and I wanted to be their ally and say, hey, maybe if you make a decision a little different, the result can be significantly bigger.
Yeah, it's true. Okay. Now, I understand this is a family business. I mean, I know people who are regular listeners of the podcast, they know I'm very big on family business. You do have a background through your family. Tell us a little bit about that.
My father was the second largest landlord in the city where he was born. And they've been landlords for generations. He's not the first one. In fact, we had pictures of all our great-grandfathers and so on. So I had the opportunity to hear stories from my father's friends and how they took care of real estate, and then how my father entered into how he actually became a lawyer because he was able to help people understanding the legal aspect of real estate. So that was a key to serving his clients, because that's something he was learned from the birth, I would say. Because that's something they ate in their family.
Yeah, you can really say it's in the family. Wow, generations. That's amazing. Okay, so now that was in India, right?
At that time, it used to be India.
Okay. Now, when you started your real estate business here in Canada?
I started my business in Canada, yes.
Okay. So talk about some of the challenges you face, because everybody knows that the real estate business, especially here in Quebec, it's a crowded market. I think the last time I checked, there's like more than 16,000 real estate brokers running around the greater Montreal area. In the early days, how did you establish yourself? Because I'm sure it's really different than, how your family might have done things in India. So what were some of the challenges you faced early on in your career?
I never wanted to just be a real estate broker. That's not my goal. My goal is to help people understand the benefit of real estate. That I learned through generations of experience through my family. So I wanted to share that with them. But problem that was happening is that not too many people had the perfect understanding of return they can get from owning real estate. They were considering as, we can have it, maybe, or maybe not. Maybe it's too much work to do. But no one was caring about the result. What I wanted to focus on the result. So basically begin with the end in mind.
Ooh.
And I wanted to reach out to every people that are my client or my client circle. Tell them that, listen, let's start thinking the end first. We always say we want to plan first, but we often fail to plan it. So this is something important when it comes to real estate. You want to plan it first. You want to plan the end game.
Okay, so did you start off as like, I'm a real estate broker, I've got no leads, I've got no clients, I got to pound the pavement and get going? Or did you have a base? Was your family business able to give you that breathing room to establish this more sophisticated way of educating the market?
George, the problem that I faced My father passed away when I was just 16. I just turned 16. My father passed away. I knew that there's a lot I could learn from my father, but the time was very limited. So I had to depend on other sources. So what I end up doing, how about working for other landlords that own real estate, just like my father used to? Maybe they can teach me. And I think it was the right decision to do.
Definitely.
I had great mentors. They told me how they're making money. And I said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to teach this to people that don't understand this side of it. Problem I had in start, when I was approaching as a beginner in real estate, people would say, hey, you know too much. Something's wrong. But with time, I think they realized what I was saying makes sense.
So it's kind of like imposter syndrome in reverse. You were okay with your confidence and you knew what you were doing, but it was hard for your prospects to say, look at this young man and say, whoa, I'm not sure if I'm ready to take advice from someone, at this point.
Exactly. They were working with, some of them had brokers. The broker was serving them for a decade, but he didn't even show them proper approach to make maximum return from real estate. So when I approached these individual investors, at first they were a little bit concerned because they were mostly rookie investors. They were not, it's like they didn't know actual strategy in real estate investment, but they call them real estate investors just by owning multiple real estate.
Yeah, there's a difference in being an owner and an investor. I get you. Okay, so you've got a credibility challenge. I understand that you did things a little differently than the average. You went into the media, not social media, because social media didn't exist when you started. Tell us about that journey. Tell us about what you did to build out your credibility using the media.
I always reached out for a different mentor along the way. So let's just say when I started my real estate career, I approached Tatiana Londono. She was on television. She was on her third season of Property Shop, and it was on Home and Garden television. Being on national television, you must know something, right?
You'd like to think so.
How about learning from that person? So I was very fortunate to learn directly from Tata Londono, and the result was also great. I remember on my first batch of closings, I became the sales broker. And not once, consecutive times. So eventually I realized that I want to focus on problem solving so basically on quality over quantity. So that's a different approach I start taking. But I have to say, learning from a mentor is great way to move forward.
Did you get a chance to get in front of the camera?
Absolutely. I was on national television, Home and Garden HGTV, for her season 3, episode 10.
Okay.
And we actually showed my first listing, which was over $1 million. But don't forget, first listing over $1 million is not an easy for a new broker to handle. So I learned a lot, but from that point forward, things went very in my favor after that. And this is what I meant, is that you have to learn. Just getting a license is not enough.
Okay, I agree 100%. Now here's a we often get this advice. When you talk to marketing, you talk to influencers, they talk about what you just finished saying, like, cozy up to the stars, right? The halo effect and all that stuff. How did you break through? Because I'm sure you weren't the only, aspiring broker that, wanted to, get up close to someone, like her. What did you do? How did you get her attention?
I knocked on many doors.
Okay.
I went to Remax. I went to Century 21, Royal LePage. I went to many different doors, and then I try to find the one that is suitable for my interest. And again, I'm going to say, begin with the end in mind, where I want to be. I think because at start I was able to learn from Tata Londono, my success had a big impact because of that. Because, when you, in BNI, one thing I always say is that your network is your network. So same thing, who's your mentor can be your idol and can guide you to bigger outcome.
Okay, I buy that. I guess what I'm trying to say is that people of that caliber, people who are sought after, people who have reached the top of their game, there's a lot of competition for their attention.
Yes.
I mean, were you one of those guys that, were working 16-hour days and kicking ass and killing it, and then you got her attention, or you got her attention because you were just the smartest guy in the room? Like, what was your thing? Like, how did you get her to say, "Hey, Sudha, I want you to come on my show"?
I have to say, Todd can answer that, but I definitely got their attention, and they reached out to me.
Okay.
And I remember at that time there was over 100 brokers. So
yeah,
I must have something.
Okay. Well, it sounds like you're holding it close to your chest. So we'll move on. One of the things that I noticed is that you've got a lot going on. I mean, if you check out your LinkedIn profile, you've got 4 big projects that are still present. They're not old ones. They're still happening. So I wanted to understand how, young man, you've got 2 young children, 4 businesses that you're running. Talk to us about how you manage your time, how you prioritize, because I think that's a huge challenge for a lot of entrepreneurs and executives out there. Talk to us about how you do that. Like, what are the mechanics of that?
I plan my day in a way that anywhere I can waste time, I try to cut it off. For example, traffic. When I started my business, I used to drive almost 60,000 kilometers a year.
Wow.
Because I would be from south of Montreal to the north of Montreal almost every day. But remember, you also mentioned in the past, and I am a big fan of Dr. Covey, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. It's important to focus on direction, not the management. At that point, I started focusing on direction. I put all my energy growing business instead of running and getting stuck on traffic and wasting time. The result was amazing, I have to say.
So I'm hearing a couple things. So I'm hearing in the car, you didn't waste time. So your car was what? Your mobile office. You were making calls. You were directing your people. You weren't just listening to the radio or listening to there were no podcasts at that time, but you weren't just listening to radio or maybe audiobooks.
I was listening to audiobooks.
Okay.
A lot of audiobooks.
Okay.
That was actually one way of improving my self-skill, I would say. But the most important part of running these businesses and how I maintain my time, I try not to waste time somewhere where I don't need to be.
Okay, so I'm hearing you prioritizing. I'm hearing you say, I'm going to say no to a lot of stuff that's not important so that I can say yes to the things that are important.
Exactly. Now, getting back to Stephen R. Covey's, the 4-quadrant formula.
Mm-hmm.
Important and but urgent.
Mm-hmm.
Important but not urgent. Not important but urgent. Not important, not urgent.
Not urgent.
So imagine your friends calls you to go to a pool party. You can do that, but maybe for a small period. But if you're there the whole time, you might not get anything out of it. So I try to minimize my social life. And somehow I incorporated my business and social life together. It's very hard to do it.
I think that's quite common.
We do it nowadays.
Yeah.
So that was the result. And don't forget, when I started my business in 2007, no one talked about virtual working. But I started by working with investors. They are getting out of the country.
Oh, yeah.
They had properties in Quebec, but they had to get out because of you probably heard about a U.S. market crash in 2008. It was impacting Canadian investors' decisions. So as a result, they were looking for an alternative solution in case this happens.
Mm-hmm.
That time, these investors would be in China. They can be in Thailand, Morocco, Chile. How do I communicate? So we went virtual from the get-go.
Wow. That gave you a huge edge.
Yes. And when the funny thing is, I'm going to mention this because it makes, in 2019, being virtual for years, in 2019, we said, how about we start planning 2030, 10 years in advance. So we made a project called Bees 2030. All my employees thought I'm crazy. But I said, no, let's plan that ahead. And we're going to get office, we're going to get new system, we're going to get more stuff, and it's going to do great. We start planning it. But the problem, pandemic hit. That was a great timing as an entrepreneur to deal with, because you get to learn a lot of different things.
Oh, yeah. Zoom became the new four-letter word.
Yes. And it's not the same thing as a market crash. This time the entire world is paralyzed. How do you deal with it? So we had to scrap the Bees 30 plan, make it how to survive Bees 20 plan, make a lot of changes, pay penalties to get out of the lease, and so on.
Yeah.
Why I'm saying this, in business world, it's important to learn how to bend, but not to break.
Yeah. 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 The pivot is the art of the pivot. For those of you who don't know, The Art of Pivot is a great book. You should look it up. I'll put the notes about the book. But the idea, the principle that you had established already of long-term planning, the skill set, the mindset of long-term planning is really essential for dealing with these unexpected things. And when I said unexpected thing, the little light bulb in my head went off and said, like, we should stop calling it that, because there's always going to be an unexpected thing. The thing you can expect is the unexpected. I mean, it's the thing you know for sure is going to happen is the unexpected thing. Yes. So yeah, having that built into your business, having that built into even your day is crucial. Like having that buffer time in your business and in your day so that you can adapt to these types of changes is something that we all know we should do, but so few of us do it.
Yeah.
I mean, let's face it. Most people pack 9.5 hours into an 8-hour day. Right? I mean, that's kind of like the de facto thing. So you were talking about saying no to things. You were talking about, the Eisenhower quadrant, the urgent and not urgent and all that. How do you apply that in the day-to-day? Because, I don't see many, executives and entrepreneurs, pull out the little cheat sheet and go, okay, which one does this fit into? I mean, that doesn't happen.
No, you can't do that. But in the beginning, it will feel like you have to do something similar because you need to train your brain. Eventually, it's automated. Nowadays, it's much easier to do what I do because when I started in 2007, working virtually was something very unusual.
High-speed internet didn't exist. Good cameras didn't exist. The software didn't exist.
My mother used to say, what do you do in the computer all day and you call it work?
I think everybody's mother said that at one point.
Yeah. She's not wrong, because during high school, I used to do the same thing, but playing games. Okay. So see, in her mind, probably I'm playing games. But anyhow, getting to the point is, so in a daily work life or day-to-day life, if you try to plan it, like, for example, I work from home. I used to work from office. I have an office in Laval. I have a virtual office in Montreal. I have a third office location, a mobile office in Saint-Adèle, from where we learn. So we function. But I don't like to travel. I want to focus on direction, and that can be done from my desk.
Yeah. In most cases,
I take help from my team to get the legworks done.
Okay. And you talked about that 2 times now, and I really want to get into this because I think what you said about delegation is so important. And what's your secret sauce? What is your style of delegating? Because I get the sense that you're a high level guy, and that's great. Most successful entrepreneurs are. How do you prevent the wheels from falling off the bus in terms of, you give your team direction, and I get you probably aren't a micromanager. So how do you make sure that the team gets the stuff done the way you see it, the way you want it to get done?
Right now, there's a system. Before this kind of system existed, we did it manually, whether it was done through ICQ. There was a time we used ICQ, Skype, MSN messengers for communication
Skype,
purpose.
wow.
But nowadays, you can do it from your phone. You don't need a computer. Employees can do these things from their phone. For example, if they're here, they can take pictures of before and after, and they tell you what they have done over the years. The thing is, it's all about strategy.
Mm-hmm.
You have to, every entrepreneur have to sit down and create a roadmap of their service, and then see which areas they might be able to improve by cutting time.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have to directly get involved in every decision making of your business, you're not an entrepreneur, you're a business owner.
All right. Okay. So as a coach,
in my perspective,
I don't think you're wrong. As a coach, we often face that issue. Entrepreneurs at a certain maturity level, they have this fear of loss, like this idea that I gotta capture every opportunity. Like there's gold everywhere, and if I let something go, it's going to be the end of the world. When you're delegating things to your team, because I want to stick to this topic of delegating, how do you communicate with them? Like, here's the job. I want you to do, I want you to do this. Here's the job. How do you communicate with them that they do it the way you want it done? Like, how do you make sure they understand that so that you minimize, the rework and the going back and forth and all that stuff? How do you do that? Because I think
you train your team. You have to train your team. Before you open a business, create a business plan, and have all these into account, so that way it can be well structured. And this is what I do is, like, before opening, for example, let's talk about Auberge. Before opening it, I had to do the whole roadmap because what happened is I opened this business middle of pandemic when everyone was closing door. You
opened a mini hotel.
I pitched to my investors, hey, I think it is a great time to open a hotel. What's going on? But I did my homework. I showed it to them that who's winning in the race of vaccination, the time it will take, what is plan A, if the plan A doesn't work with the plan B, if the plan B doesn't work with the plan C. And don't forget, I'm in the business real estate. It's real assets. They're not paper
and time
assets.
Is money.
Yeah.
Holding costs are expensive.
Well, that's why you have to plan it correctly, because if you don't buy time, you're not going to make money.
All right, I love this. This is getting into the meat and bones. This is the thing that entrepreneurs really, really need to understand and really need to hear. When you talk to entrepreneurs that are, less mature, oftentimes the refrain or the pushback we get as coaches is, I don't have time for all that planning. I just got to hit the road and grind it out and just, bang, 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 kill my to-do list. And, and then, the chips are going to fall where they're going to fall. What do you say to people who kind of have that mindset, who have that attitude?
Unless they change their mindset, they're not going far. They're going to be in a circle. And that's a common problem because you're not able to understand where to improve and where not to improve, which area you're forgetting, you need to go grab. All these things, only way to see it is by having it in paper. I see it when a lot of people now work digitally, but I'm a paper guy. I love to print it. You see it. I like to see it in paper so I can cross it out, make this one, like connecting the dots, as Steve Jobs says, connecting the dots. As an entrepreneur, if you're focusing on a single stream of income, I think you're making a big mistake. A lot of people say, Sudha, you do quite a lot of things. No, I don't do quite a lot of things. I do one thing. I solve problems for my investors, and my investors are real estate investors. Their problem related to real estate, and I have to speak the language for each set of problems.
So I love it. I love the fact that you recognize that there's a difference between being scattered and being diversified. You've got 4 projects going, but they're all aligned in one direction,
Exactly.
serving the overall purpose of your company, your vision of your company. And I love that because I agree, there's a big difference between chasing the shiny object, I could do this and I could do this and I could do that. But if it's not part of an aligned strategy that's moving in a predetermined direction, then yeah, you are scattered. You're not diversified.
Exactly.
Because if you can't justify why you're doing all these things to serve the greater goal, then yeah, you're just scattered.
Yes. For many years, I would tell people I never run the restaurant. I worked in a restaurant in the past when I was a student in high school.
Didn't we all?
Yeah. But I never thought of owning a restaurant. But as I said, I'm in real estate business. Currently, for that hotel that we have with our investors, that hotel has a cafe inside. Technically speaking, I'm owning a restaurant within or a coffee shop within. But again, I'm not in the restaurant business. I'm in the real estate business.
Yeah, you're optimizing your real estate.
My goal is my investor has invested into that hotel. How can I make that more profitable over time by gaining its value?
Yeah, absolutely. It's like if you've got a building and the building has a parking lot and you run the parking lot because there's an opportunity to get revenue from the parking lot. You're not in the parking lot business. You're just optimizing your real estate.
Yes. In fact, speaking of parking lot, many of my clients own parking lots. And a lot of people think they're in the parking lot business. They're buying time to do development.
Yeah.
They're developers.
Yeah.
How do I pay for my taxes? Make it a parking lot.
Yeah.
People pay money.
Yeah.
Over time, you just buy off your expenses. Sometimes you might see some returns.
Just look at downtown Toronto. 20 years ago, there were a lot of parking lots. Now,
none.
No more parking lots.
Yes. Montreal too.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
So it's the same, whether we speak of parking lot, whether we speak of those large, the car dealership.
Yeah. They've got giant parking lots.
These parking lots are simply to buy time.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, they will become part of big projects.
Yeah.
Look at LaSalle Boulevard.
Yeah, that's true.
Or look at Newman Boulevard.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same scenario.
Yep.
So my thing is that just because an entrepreneur is doing something doesn't mean this is their cup of tea. The overall interest might be something else.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so we've talked about prioritization with the Eisenhower matrix. We talked about the idea of making sure your team is trained so that when you give them an instruction, they actually know how to do it, which I think is so important. That could be a whole other podcast. And then, the idea of making sure that all of your business projects are aligned in a big vision. And for God's sake, actually take the time to make a business plan. If you don't know how to make a business plan, what do?
You're lost.
Well, if you don't know how to do a business, find somebody who does. Find a business coach. Ask ChatGPT. Ask your accountant. I mean, the government has all kinds of programs for learning how to do a business plan.
Speaking of this, George, you're a coach yourself. From your perspective, a business without a plan, is it well structured?
Yeah, it's not. And it's what you said. You reach the height of your gut capability or your intuition or what you learned from either a mentor or what you learned on the job, because most entrepreneurs, they basically took their job and turned it into a company. They didn't really make a business, as you said. If you don't get that education, if you don't learn how to do those things, and doing a good business plan is a great way to learn how to run a business. If you do it with someone who really knows what they're doing, if you take the time and hire a business coach or hire a good CPA, there aren't too many of them out there, but a professional who's done it before, or as you did, seek out a mentor and ask a mentor who's done it before to help you. Okay, I'm going to ask you, you've been around and your family's been around. You've got a lot of hardcore on the street experience. There's a saying that says every hour of planning buys you 5 hours of time. Do you agree with that statement or you disagree with that statement?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, I mean, where else can you get a 5x return on almost $0 investment? You're just investing some time and a little bit, like you said, you got to learn the technique. You got to find a technique, learn it, and stick to it long enough for it to become a habit. I mean, I'm sure you've got a bunch of techniques that you use that just keep you rolling, keep you moving in the direction that you want to go into.
Yeah. One thing I tell to new entrepreneurs, start managing your own home first. Start with your kitchen, where to keep what, and how quickly you're going to be able to get access. Like, for example, in my house, coffee every morning is my responsibility to make. I make it for my wife and I. So I make sure the coffee and the pan, it's like everything is well planned. For me to make coffee shouldn't take very long. As I said, I don't want to waste my time making coffee or clean up afterward. So this is important. Now, if you don't take care of that, if you don't plan that properly, and say you make a mess and then you have to clean up afterward, there's extra work to be done, extra time to put. Cut these things out of your life. You're going to have a lot of time to put in the right place.
Yeah. I worked in the aerospace business for a while, and Six Sigma is a big thing in the industrial world. And what you just finished saying is one of the Six Sigma techniques. You have a tool, the tool belongs in a specific place, and it's designed in such a way that the worker has easy access to the tool, knows where it is, knows where to put it back. It's always at arm's reach, so there's no wasted time, no wasted movement, no chances of accidents. I know when you're talking to someone who, running a plumbing business, or maybe running a small contracting business, or maybe someone who's got a little, finance business, they may say, oh, that's just, what do I waste my time with all that? That's just too much. But there's a principle that says that the little things turn into big things.
Yes.
When you got to waste a half an hour every day hunting for a file that you don't remember where you put, or you've got a cluttered desktop on your computer and you're using a file that's maybe 5 weeks old, and you did another one that you did it last week, and then you're using the old one and you got to recorrect. I mean, those little stupid 10, 15, 20-minute delays add up.
Yes, absolutely. And at the end of the year, it can be a big number.
Yeah.
George, when I became an entrepreneur, I was only 24 years old. I didn't know a lot of the different things, like how to save time, how to do things correctly. I had to learn everything the hard way. And one thing is that learning from your own experience versus learning from someone else's experience, learning from others is much easier. Okay? You have to avoid the mistakes.
I hear you say that, but it's easier. But why is it that so many people, they don't respect it, or they don't honor it, or they don't value it? I mean, I know your kids are a little young, but think about when we talk to our kids. When we tell our kids, sweetie, you should be doing this and this and this. And they go, oh yeah, Dad, no problem. And then they just, But then when someone else tells them, like an aunt or an uncle or a grandparent, and they say, sweetie, you should do this. They go, oh, you're right, Auntie. I should do that. Don't you think we do that even as adults? Like we know what we should do, and we don't take our own advice.
Yeah. Sometimes it's the the person that you're telling to how they see you. You know, although they know you're giving good advice, in their mind, maybe they have a set decisions that any advice coming from this specific person for that specific reason, I will not accept it. It's not that you're giving a bad advice, or it's not that the person is just it's normal.
I agree with you. And I think one of the things you said earlier really is super important. You know, the Covey quote of starting with the end in mind. I think a lot of people are afraid to do that. I think a lot of people are afraid to put that pin on the map and say, I'm going, boom, I'm going there. And telling everybody, I'm going there. You know, I think a lot of people are afraid of that. I think they're afraid for lots of different reasons. I'm curious to know, how are you able to overcome that fear and say, you know what, screw that. This is where I want to go. This is my end in mind. And that's it. I'm going there.
Speaking of those people, their fear of setbacks. Their fear of hearing from their close ones repeatedly about these setbacks and reminding them. They don't want to go through that experience, you know. I understand that very, very well. When something goes bad, you will hear it several times. But it's okay. It's okay. The other day, George, you probably remember, I mentioned what I'm very grateful about.
Yeah.
And I said how when we're born, we don't even know where we're going to born in, or which family or location or the time or the weather. Same thing applies when it comes to our death. But in between, we believe we know everything, we can control everything, and so on. So it gets back to that, is that you have to understand that we don't have that control over that result. What we can do is we can simply do our best. The result will come based on our performance. Yeah. So as an entrepreneur, say, for example, you don't have money and you're scared to borrow money from the bank, ask your family, ask your father or mother for some, borrowing from them. Maybe your first investor sitting in your kitchen table. Yeah. You don't know.
And practice, right? Don't borrow, don't make your first borrow, you know, everything you're worth. I mean, how many times have I seen entrepreneurs, they leverage their house to the max, they borrow everything off of their credit cards, plus they beg, borrow, and steal from every relative that'll give them a dime on their first project, on their first endeavor, their first thing. I mean, it's just, it blows my mind. I mean, borrow 25 grand for a small project, make it work, and then borrow 50. Yeah. And then borrow 100.
Speaking of borrowing, the day I decided to become an entrepreneur, I reached out to my pocket. I only had a $20 bill. I was working for a bank in Westmount, and at the same time, I was also studying at Concordia. But my grades wasn't doing so great, so basically, the university was about to show me the door. At that time, I asked myself, what do I want to do? Where do I want to be? Where do I see at the end of my picture? And at that point, I told myself, I have to do what I want to do. I always wanted to do, become an entrepreneur, start my own business. But my mom always told me one thing: no one, not even a single person in my family or in my generation, I would say, succeeded in business. Ooh. So I'm the first one, broke that cycle and went into business.
Wow. Despite your family's legacy in the real estate business.
Owning real estate was something, don't forget, they didn't create it.
Ah, okay.
It was generational. So
okay. They were preserving it. Yeah, so, they're managing and preserving it. I get it.
So they became like, okay, they were just preserving, and then one day when things changed, they lost everything.
Okay, I get you. They weren't self-made per se. I mean, obviously, there was one of your forefathers that did have to get it in the first place. Yes. But the more recent ones, they were just preserving it. They basically had a job taking care of it.
Exactly. All you knew how to take care of it until my father. That's why everyone talked about my father. Everyone would tell a different story about how he did this or how he did that. And it was so inspiring. That inspired me to see myself somewhere, especially because my father, at age 78, he had to challenge the same family with whom I had to go against to start my business to come to Canada.
Yeah.
And that's because for him, it was a risk. And somehow it paid off.
Well, not somehow. I mean, there's a lot of, I mean, I know luck, I know luck is a part of it, but it's a small part. I mean, I give luck maybe a 10, 15%, weight in calculations. And the rest is a lot of hard work. And what I heard you say is if you get into business expecting things to be sunshine and roses, forget it.
Forget it.
But on the other hand, I mean, people who are doing, the 60, 70 hour grind working in corporations, or people doing the 60, 70 hour grind working in the restaurant gig, or you name it. I mean, it's not sunshine and roses for them either. I mean, you talk to these people, they're stressed out, they've got anxiety, they've got pressure, they've got all of those things as well. So I tell people, if you're going to go through stress, anxiety, and risk, because whose job is guaranteed anymore? I mean, I don't know. And in this day and age, I don't know whose job is secure anymore. If you're going to do that, if you're going to go through that hassle, you're going to go through that pain, you're going to go through that risk, you've only got one life to live, why not be an entrepreneur?
Yeah.
Yeah.
School doesn't teach you how to make money. School teaches you how to work according to the book.
How to be a comfortable slave.
Entrepreneurs are the ones that are running the world, I would say.
100%.
If you're eating food, it's coming from a grocery store. That grocery store purchasing from a warehouse, and that warehouse is probably purchasing from a farmer. So, end of the day, business is everything, and core interest of any business should be owning real estate. That's what I say. Now, you have to take risk. You have to take risk, but make sure your risks are measurable. You go ask your parents for money, but you have no business plan, won't work. In fact, they might give you once, but they might not give you second times. So at second time, even with the business plan, you might fail to get your investor on board. So begin with the end in mind. At first, get a proper plan, get a coach, get it, whatever you need to do to get it right. Get your investors in line and move ahead.
Yeah, and experiment.
Yeah,
I think that's something that a lot of, especially younger entrepreneurs, they just get so fired up on their idea, and they, that expression, don't fall in love with your first idea, or don't fall in love with your first business, because the likelihood is that business is either not going to survive, or it's going to change so radically if you do survive that you won't even recognize it, in 5 years.
Yeah.
And I think that idea is something that a lot of people, they fall in love with their idea and they just get so pig-headed about it. They just get so fixated on it, and they just say, no matter what, this is going to work. It's going to work. And we know that that's not realistic. And I'm sure you faced that, in your career. I mean, I'm sure you've made some investments, or you get a building and you think the building is going to be like this, or go like this, or be used for this, and then all of a sudden it turns into something completely different.
Well, speaking of Biz 2030,
there you go.
That's a failure,
yeah.
Right? I learned that because of that Biz 2030 is that we cannot just forecast the weather and say everything will be fine. We have to make sure our ship is able to sink in any weather, any condition.
Yeah.
So make your business that, suitable for any circumstances. Right now, one extra knowledge we have is how to deal with pandemic.
Yeah.
So in my corporations, under all the corporations under the umbrella, we restructure everything since 2023 to make sure even if a future pandemic arrives, how we can survive.
You have an exit strategy.
Exactly. And probably you remember, we had a discussion not very long ago, and asked on the lease,
Yeah.
have you had a clause for that?
That's right.
It's important.
Or insurance. You talked about insurance, having the
Yes.
right insurance.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's, having contingencies. It goes back to what we were saying before. If you don't plan your business for, excuse my French, for shit to happen, if you don't plan that in, you're making a big mistake. It's like you're driving with your eyes closed. It's just not feasible.
George, what my unique approach to my investors, when I sit down with them, I don't, like, for example, you have a building for sale. I'm not going to focus on selling the building. I'm going to focus on the end result, how much you're going to have at the end in your pocket after paying all expense, capital gain, how much capital gain might be have to be payable for this, or so whatever, every aspect of it, the 360 view of it, we have to analyze it before moving ahead. Yeah.
And I remember in one of your presentations, you even have like a pro and a con version. He's like, okay, this is the sunny projection. If everything goes well, this is how much it's going to do. And this is the cloudy version. This is if things don't go so well, this is how much. And then you got to make a decision.
Yeah.
Then you got to say, okay, given those two scenarios, either one of them can happen. Are you still okay? Are you okay with the cloudy version? And I think that that's something that everyone can do at any level that they're at. I mean, even if you're a student, if I take this course, what am I going to get out of it? What's the pro of it? What's the con of it? What kind of investment in time, money, effort, blah, blah, blah. What are the opportunity costs? Like if I take this course, that means I can't take that course.
Yeah.
So, I think that kind of reasoning, that kind of logic, that kind of process is a skill that can be learned.
Yeah.
But if you just leave it up to chance, or if you just leave it up to, your gut, or you leave it up to other people's opinions, oh yeah, you really should take that course. Oh, I took that course. It was amazing. You should take that course. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it was good for you, but it might not be good for me.
Exactly. You see, as an entrepreneur, when you are starting a business, if you cannot focus on one thing. Like if you're a real estate broker, try to go get other certifications along the side. This is my suggestions. Why? Because you might be able to connect the dot and solve problems that others are unable to.
Yeah.
This is where the solutions for your clients comes to on the table,
Yeah, you're talking about niche, right? You're talking about having a niche offering. I mean, it's like the difference between being a general doctor and a specialist in a certain disease or in a certain condition. I mean, you're going to be, who you serve.
Yeah. And as an entrepreneur, there shouldn't be any slow season. If there's a slow season, means that time you're not doing something.
Yeah.
And one of the best thing you can do is learning.
Yeah, I love that.
So if any time of the year you feel that time you are a little slow, like last summer, we had a summer vacation. Usually at summer vacation, things are a little slow. But guess what? I focused on getting an exam done.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds very bad. People go on vacation. But I'm an entrepreneur. I have to race against the time. Otherwise, competition will just, conquer me. So how do I do it? I make sure that I don't waste time. As you said, the 4-quadrant, important but not urgent. Getting your exams done, getting your education done, getting your learnings, whatever you need to achieve to maximize your result or your service for your clients, get that part done.
I love it. And I know I've met your family. You come from a huge family. I think a lot of people listening to this might say, oh, he's a maniac. He doesn't have a life. You know what? I've met your family. I know how intensely involved you are with your family. I mean, this guy's got like 40 first cousins or something like that you were telling me. I mean, he's got a huge family, 2 young kids, beautiful wife. He cares for them. He spends time with them. I think it's a myth that people think that you have to sacrifice everything to have a successful, business.
Yeah. And you can do everything all together. Just make sure everything is well, clear, and transparent between your family, like especially your better half.
Yeah.
Often it's about the better half, actually, I would say. You have to
Happy wife,
understand that.
happy life, right?
Exactly. Well, it's the opposite too. For a female entrepreneur,
It's the same thing,
spouse
of
have to
course.
understand.
Yeah, of course.
And be the quarterback and supporting. Okay, if I'm going to take care of the kids, you go to Saint Cassette.
Yeah, this idea of balance is it's a strange thing. I often tell people, like, okay, think about the weather. So think about 365 some odd days of the year. Is the weather balanced? If you compare the weather this year to the weather last year or the year before, is it balanced? Was it exactly the same amount of rain? Was it exactly the same amount of sun? Hell no. So if the universe doesn't have balance, everything's mathematically the same, how do you expect your life to have balance? I mean, there's ebbs and flows, but it's like you said, you have to contract things. So if I am going to be doing this, what do you want to be okay with that? So if I need to take a weekend away to do a business trip, what is it going to take for you to feel okay about that? Like, where is the balance? How do we negotiate that balance so that as it's moving up and down, we're okay?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And believe you me, things will go up and down. It's part of life.
Yeah.
Just like pandemic, pandemic came in like a snowstorm. A lot of people lost hope. I spoke to many people. They thought that it's end of the world.
Yep.
But just like a snowstorm, spring ahead, remember, there's a brighter future ahead.
Yeah.
You just have to
and plan for it.
Positive and stay strong.
And plan for it. I mean,
Exactly.
the best business people, they make a plan for when things go poorly, but they also make a plan for when things go well.
Yeah.
And I love that. Sudha, this has been amazing. I love the experience. I know you're a spiritual guy. I know for you, it's not all about the money. I know you support a lot of good causes. And I think the big takeaway from this that I'm hoping the listeners get is that you can do well in business. You can have a big impact, and you can have a good life. You can have a balanced life. You can have a family life, but you got to have a plan. You got to have a plan. You got to work the plan. You got to stick to the plan. You need to have support structures around you. You need to learn. You need to spend time learning to improve yourself. And I think I also heard from you that, you've got to be able to tune people out.
Yeah.
You got to tune the wrong people out. I mean, yeah, you're going to fail and there's going to be people that's going to happen, but you got to tune that out.
Yeah.
And focus on your big picture. And I hope that everyone listening to this takes that to heart, because I think that's the key to every person's success, whether you're a young student in school or, you're in your second phase of life, in a different career, new career. I think that advice is pertinent. Where can we find you, Sudha? Where's the best place for people to learn about you, to learn about your business?
Google Sudha Halder.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Or visit SudhaHalder.com, SudhaHalder. What I specialize in problem solving. So any investor, I would say real estate investor with problem, whether distressed property with property infestation or mold growth, whatever the scenario is, and they're having difficulty selling it, refinancing, or finding solution to get out of it, we have it.
Yeah,
So
I know.
of,
Amazing.
Me and my team, and we'll be happy to assist.
I love it. I love the fact that you're all about solutions and you give so much to people, to your clients, and you know that by making that investment that it will work out in the end, that you will get the return on that investment in the end. And I think every entrepreneur needs to understand that principle because it's so important. Sudha, thank you for being on Lead Like a Boss, brother.
Thank you. I appreciate it.